Bad Harrow. Oh, the bells draw. Oh, Cat Among. Oh, I don't know if I said it right. Umi Sakurai. The Origin of the Species by, what is his name? Charles Darwin. The Origin of the Species by what is his name? Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new, I'm Leandra, the TBR 0, and I am taking on the daunting task of counting every single book on my physically owned TBR. That means I'm pulling every single book off my shelves, showcasing it to you with title and author, and then we're quickly moving on. I won't be counting the books that I own and that I've already read, so for instance, the bookcase behind me. I also am not going to be counting any books that I've bought in 2025 so far, nor any books that are ARCs that have publication dates of 2025. The reason for that is because I kind of want to see how many books are on my physically owned TBR from January 1st on. So that's what we're counting today. The number to beat is 402 because that's what I got last year. I'm really hoping that I have less books. I've done unhauls. I've tried to focus on my own TBR. I tried to focus on purchased books in 2024 as well, so I'm not adding too many. So I feel like I've done everything I can, but we're also fighting the setting sun because I started recording this way later than I planned. We only have a few hours. So without further ado, let's get into it. There is some organization to the madness. You won't understand it, but I will, and I guess that's all that matters. Okay, let's start. The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Warble. Queen of Poisons by Robert Thorogood. Jekyll and Hyde, Consulting Detectives by Tim Major. The Bookshop and the Barbarian by Morgan Stang. Murder at Spindle Manor by Morgan Stang. The Division Bell Mystery by Ellen Wilkinson. Cursed Cocktails by S.L. Rowland. Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. The World Without Us by Alan Wiseman. Uncivilized by Subhadra Das. The Last Human by Jack Jordan. Tokyo Express by Seicho Matsumoto. Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells. Cat Gamer 6 by Wataru Nadatani. A Body Made of Glass by Caroline Crampton. Death of a Ghost by Marjorie Allingham. More Work for the Undertaker by Marjorie Allingham. The Tiger and the Smoke by Marjorie Allingham. And The White Cottage Mystery by Marjorie Allingham. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yaros. Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Creepy Cat by Cotton Vallant. A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakurai. Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry. The Map of Salt and Stars by Jennifer Zainab Jugadar. The End of October by Lawrence Wright. The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. In Country by Bobby Ann Mason. Bleeding Heartyard by Ellie Griffiths. The Water Knife by Paolo Bacigalupi. The Black Prince by Iris Murdoch. Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. Memoirs of a Polar Bear by Yoko Tawada. The Story of a New Name by Elena Ferrante. 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Beetlebone by Kevin Barry. Little Constructions by Anna Burns. Love at First Set by Jennifer Dugan. Grendel by John Gardner. Fates and Furies and Florida by Lauren Groff. Rules for Visiting by Jessica Francis Kane. Intimations by Alexandra Kleeman. A Children's Bible by Lydia Millett. The Revisionaries by A.R. Moxon. Hear the Wind Sing and Pinball 1973 by Haruki Murakami. True Biz by Sarah Novick. Boy Snowbird by Helen Oyeyemi. Green Island by Shauna Yang Ryan. Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth. The Red Widow Murders by John Dixon Carr. The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. The Pale Horse by Agatha Christie. The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. The Train of Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. The Sisters Grimm by Michael Buckley. The Winter House Mysteries by Ben Gutterson. The Book Wanderers by Anna James. Escape from Aurora and Rise of the World Eater by Jamie Littler. Field Guide to the Supernatural Universe by Allison Noel. City Spies by James Ponti. Pilar Ramirez and the Escape from Zaffa by Julian Randall. Figs and Phantoms by Ellen Raskin. Murder Most Unladylike and Arsenic for Tea by Robin Stevens. The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. Dragon Mountain, Dragon Legend, and Dragon City by Katie and Kevin Sang. Murder at the Manor, Resorting to Murder, Settling Scores, and Blood on the Tracks, all edited by Martin Edwards. The Virgin of Prince Street by Sonia Livingston. Arithmetic by Paul Lockhart. How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immerwahr. Unbowed by Wangari Maathai. Who Was That Lady by Jeffrey Marks. After the Quake by Haruki Murakami. Becoming Wild by Carl Safina. The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brusat. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doty. Constellations by Sinead Gleason. Eager by Ben Goldfarb. Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin. Essays and Poems by Ralph Waldo Emerson. My First Summer in the Sierra. Our National Parks. Steep Trails, and Travels in Alaska, all by John Muir. Wild Animals I Have Known by Ernest Thompson Seton. The Beak of the Finch by Jonathan Weiner. A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Eilen. The Liberators by E.J. Coe. Paper Cuts by Ellery Adams. Rainbow Black by Maggie Thrash. My Beloved Monster by Caleb Carr. When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. Murder in Highbury by Vanessa Kelly. Murder in Berkeley Square by Vanessa Riley. Murder in Drury Lane by Vanessa Riley. Murder in Westminster by Vanessa Riley. A Very Woodsy Murder by Ellen Byron. Who to Believe by Edwin Hill. Less is Lost by Andrew Sean Greer. Murder Takes the Stage by Colleen Cambridge. The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections by Eva Jersic. Murder at King's Cross by Andrea Penrose. Murder at the Merton Library by Andrea Penrose. A Cyclist's Guide to Crime and Croissants by Anne Clare. Under the Paper Moon by Shayna Steinberg. Secrets of a Scottish Isle by Erica Ruth Neubauer. Intrigue in Istanbul by Erica Ruth Neubauer. Murder by Lamplight by Patrice McDonough. Mastering the Art of French Murder by Colleen Cambridge. A Fashionable Fatality by Alyssa Maxwell. Evidence of Things Seen by Elizabeth Daly. Have His Carcass by Dorothy L. Sayers. Strong Poison by Dorothy L. Sayers. 11 Came Back by Mabel Seeley. Hasty Wedding by Mignon G. Eberhardt. Enemy in the House and Escape the Night by Mignon G. Eberhardt. The Canary Murder Case by S.S. Van Dyne. Murders in Volume 2 by Elizabeth Daly. Close Quarters by Michael Gilbert. Missing from Her Home by Anthony Gilbert. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The Collected Poems of Emily Dickinson. Middlemarch by George Eliot. The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. Bardell v. Pickwick by Percy Fitzgerald. Dubliners by James Joyce. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. Storm by George R. Stewart. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. We by Yevgeny Zemyan. Animal Strike Curious Poses by Elena Passarello. Why Fish Don't Exist by Lulu Miller. The Oak Papers by James Canton. Late Migrations by Margaret Rankle. Waters of the World by Sarah Dry. Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard. The Tree Line by Ben Rollins. At the Existentialist Cafe by Sarah Bakewell. Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. A Life of Barbara Stanwyck by Victoria Wilson. Five Families by Selwyn Robb. Life on the Rocks by Julie Burwald. Come Fly the World by Julia Cook. The Splendid and the Vile by Eric Larson. Call for the Dead by John le Carre. A Great Deliverance by Elizabeth George. The 39 Steps and Green Mantle by John Buchan. Malice Aforethought by Frances Iles. The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. Green for Danger by Christiana Brand. The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. Was It Murder by James Hilton. The Belting Inheritance by Julian Simons. Murder of a Lady by Anthony Wynne. The Incredible Crime by Lois Austin Lee. Death in the Tunnel by Miles Burton. The Cornish Coast Murder by John Bood. Clouds of Witness by Dorothy L. Sayers. Fear for Miss Bethany by Dorothy Bowers. Three Sisters Flew Home by Mary Fitt. Death Comes to Perigord by John Ferguson. Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. The Return of Sherlock Holmes. And His Last Bow, all by Arthur Conan Doyle. The 12:30 from Croydon by Freeman Wills Crofts. The Cask by Freeman Wills Crofts. Keep It Quiet by Richard Hall. Behold, Here's Poison by Georgette Heyer. The Inimitable Jeeves by P.G. Woodhouse. The following are by Agatha Christie until I say otherwise. Five Little Pigs. The Mystery of the Blue Train. The Labors of Hercules. By the Pricking of My Thumbs. Cat Among the Pigeons. Poirot Investigates. Murder with Mirrors. Funerals Are Fatal. Murder at Hazelmoor. Curtain. The Mirror Cracked. Death Comes as the End. Poirot Loses a Client. Remembered Death. Elephants Can Remember. A Murder is Announced. Crooked House. Sparkling Cyanide. The Mysterious Mr. Quinn. 13 Clues for Miss Marple. Postern of Fate. The Unexpected Guest. They Came to Baghdad. Sleeping Murder. Easy to Kill. The Witness for the Prosecution. Towards Zero. Autumn Chills by Agatha Christie. The Killing of Polly Carter and Death Knocks Twice by Robert Thorogood. The Golden Slipper and Other Problems for Violet Strange by Anna Catherine Green. The Innocence of Father Brown by G.K. Chesterton. Hagar of the Pawn Shop by Fergus Hume. The Curious Mr. Tarrant by C. Daly King. Uncle Abner, Master of Mysteries by Melville Davison Post. The Puzzle of Blackstone Lodge by Martin Edwards. Murder on Black Swan Lane by Andrea Penrose. The Complete Fairy Tales by Brothers Grimm. The Adventures of Ellery Queen by Ellery Queen. Golden Age Detective Stories Golden Age Locked Room Mysteries, and Golden Age Biblio Mysteries, all edited by Otto Penzler. Ironhead or Once a Lady by Jean-Claude Van Reckeghem. Highfire by Ewan Colfer. The Accidental Collector by Guy Kennaway. Portuguese Irregular Verbs by Alexander McCall Smith. A Killer in King's Cove by Iona Wishaw. Pretty as a Picture by Elizabeth Little. Warlock Holmes by G.S. Denning. Fantastic Night by Stefan Zweig. The Department of Sensitive Crimes by Alexander McCall Smith. Goldilocks by Laura Lamb. Rochester Knockings by Hubert Haddad. The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. 3 Junes by Julia Glass. The first 9 books in a book retreat mystery series by Ellery Adams. I won a contest. The Man in the Woods by Rosemary Wells. The Snow Child by Ewan Ivey. The James Joyce Murder by Amanda Cross. Her Royal Spyness by Rhys Bowen. The Curious Affair of the Third Dog by Patricia Moyes. The No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. Parish in July by Molly Hardwick. Death of a Dustman, Death of a Cad, and The Dead Ringer, all by M.C. Beaton. A Ghost of Caribou by Alice Henderson. Final Appeal by Lisa Scottaline. I, the Jury by Mickey Spillane. Last to Leave the Room by Caitlin Starling. Baking Bad by Kim M. Watt. The Manual of Detection by Jedediah Barry. The Daughter of Sherlock Holmes by Leonard Goldberg. The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellows. Murder in the Afternoon by Frances Brody. Murder in the Falling Snow, edited by Cecily Gayford. The Santa Claus Murder by Mavis Doyle Hay. Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives by Rick Bleiweiss. Murder by Invitation Only by Colleen Cambridge. The Killings of Kingfisher Hill by Sophie Hannah. The Princess Bride by William Goldman. A Shilling for Candles. The Franchise Affair. To Love and Be Wise. The Daughter of Time, The Singing Sands, and Miss Pym Disposes, all by Josephine Tay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe, and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless, all by Douglas Adams. Look how pretty they are! Can you tell I am determined to love this series? Six Against the Yard by The Detection Club. The Girth Chalice Mystery, Dancers in Mourning, Fashion in Shrouds, and Mystery Mile, all by Marjorie Allingham. The Poison Chocolates Case by Anthony Barkley. The Blind Barber and Death Watch by John Dixon Carr. 3 Days for Emerald and Unidentified Woman by Mignon G. Eberhardt. Footsteps in the Dark by Georgette Heyer. Murder is Suggested, Death of an Angel, Death Takes a Bow, and Murder in a Hurry by Richard and Frances Lockridge. When in Rome, Vintage Murder, and Artists in Crime by Niall Marsh. Color Scheme by Niall Marsh. The Tragedy of X by Ellery Queen. Puzzle for Players, Puzzle for Wantons, Puzzle for Puppets, and Puzzle for Pilgrims, all by Patrick Quinton. Brat Farrar by Josephine Tay. The Big Murders, Having Wonderful Crime, Lucky Stiff, My Kingdom for a Hearse, and Trial by Fury by Craig Rice. The Whispering Cup by Mabel Seeley. The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji. The Unsuspected by Charlotte Armstrong. The Fabulous Clip Joint by Frederick Brown. Hag's Nook, and The Crooked Hinge, both by John Dixon Carr. The Turquoise Shop by Francis Crane. Murder by an Aristocrat by Mignon G. Eberhardt. The Bigger They Come, The Case of the Borrowed Brunette, The Case of the Rolling Bones, and The Case of the Shoplifter's Shoe, all by Earl Stanley Gardner. A Taste for Honey by H.F. Hurd. The Cat Saw Murder, and The Alarm of the Black Cat by Dolores Hitchens. Ride the Pink Horse, and The So Blue Marble by Dorothy B. Hughes. The Widening Stain by W. Bolingbroke Johnson. The Odor of Violets by Baynard Kendrick. The Puzzle of the Happy Hooligan by Stuart Palmer. The Spanish Cape Mystery by Ellery Queen. Home Sweet Homicide by Craig Rice. The Album, The Haunted Lady, Miss Pinkerton, and The Red Lamp, all by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. The Great Hotel Murder, and Dead Man Inside by Vincent Starrett. The Cape Cod Mystery by Phoebe Atwood Taylor. And The Benson Murder Case by S.S. Van Dyne. A few hours later, and we're done. Now it's time for Editing Leandra to go and count all of these books up, providing a counter for all of you to make things easy, and I promise I'll come back and provide some reflections on how many books I actually have to read that are on my physically owned TBR, and then finally wrap this up. So yeah, let's go over to Future Leandra. A few days later, post Editing Leandra here, and I already forgot what the number is. I think it was 348, and I am honestly really happy with that number. It still feels quite large, but what I'm satisfied with is it's far lower than last year's. And it is important to note, it's not just because I've read 50 some books from my physical TBR this year. I have finished / completed half of that number. I've DNF'd a few, I've unhauled others. I also ended up adding books to my physical TBR from my purchased reads of 2024 that I didn't finish. So there's a mess. I also included probably 5 or 6 that are currently being read. They aren't active because I've had to move on to other reads, and I do plan on going back to those books. But it just, anyway, there's like a lot to consider when you're trying to label what is a part of your physically owned TBR because of, you know, the madness of our reading lives. But I'm pretty happy with that. I would love to see it lower next year. That's probably going to be a goal of mine as I move forward, because Leandra, the TBR 0, I need to earn that name. I still very much need to earn that name. So I would love to see it get under 300 this year, but I'm willing to acknowledge that that might be a reach goal. Let's say I'd like to lessen it another 25 books, mainly because one of my goals for 2025 is to very calmly, very low stakes here, read 25 in 2025 from my like TBR. So at the very least, I'm hoping to see like 325 or less, but the reach goal is going to be 300. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing every single book that I owned. As you probably could tell, a good amount of them are mysteries. A majority of them are mysteries. And then I think there's a pretty good percentage that are nonfiction. So those two will definitely be factors in ensuring that I lower my TBR. If I know I'm reading mysteries from my shelves, if I know I'm reading nonfiction from my shelves, I should inherently be reaching my goal. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you saw any titles that you absolutely adore and you're like, Leandra, this needs to be on your TBR for 2025, read it now. Or if there are books where you're like, oh, Leandra, you're not gonna like this, why do you own it? Because I really appreciate your thoughts, your reactions, and it helps me narrow down, especially when we've got so many titles, what I actually should prioritize. I think we end up being overwhelmed with choice a lot of times, and that's partially why I go to the library and kind of choose my books from there, because it's a bit more narrowed, and I have a deadline because I need to return said book to the library in a timely fashion. If you made it to the end, be sure to provide me a stack of books, anything that's involving math, because I did have to do some arithmetic as I was going through editing this. And also thank you so much to my Manor guests. I really do appreciate you. I will have last year's physically owned TBR as well, right here in the corner. Thanks everyone. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.
Playing that Harrow. The bells drop.